if you're not going to listen to your parents, at least listen to me. I made horrible decisions when I was a 18, 19-year-old girl. Now I'm 24 and I'm in the process of blacking out my arm. So please think about the tattoos that you're gonna get, research your artist, and be sure that you want them, or you will be living with tattoo regret for the rest of your life, paying thousands getting laser or paying thousands covering it all up.
I feel like you never hear this from anybody, ever, but I hate my tattoos and I wish I'd never gotten any of them. I just covered this, tried to cover it because I'm in the process of removing this one first and then going for the other ones. And I just want my neck back so bad. I just want I want my skin back so bad. Don't get tattoos if you're really young because you end up just growing out of it and changing your lifestyle and then realizing that you don't like it and that it's ruining your vibe and stopping you from so many opportunities.
I will pay you to not get tattoos before you turn 25. This is the system that I'm implementing with my kids. I have already planned this out because I am 30 years old, I'm heavily tattooed, and I wish I never got any of them. And I don't want them to experience the same level of like regret and hatred for what their body looks like with tattoos. So my system is I will help finance first apartment, college, a car, traveling. I will help financially if you just wait until you're 25 to make any decisions about altering your body. I think 25 is a great age. Your frontal lobe is fully developed, and by then you have probably already started a career and things that are more solidified. Unfortunately, I started when I was 18. I have a lot of regret and a lot of hatred for my tattoos, and it is a daily struggle to overcome that. I just don't want the same thing for my kids. So yes, I will be bribing them.
Unpopular opinion, I do regret some of my tattoos. For example, the 444. When I got this tattoo, I just thought angel numbers meant you were closer to God. I didn't research this, I didn't read it in the Bible, and I just liked how this looked on my arm. That's why I got it. I have a Gemini tattoo behind my ear. I used to be a Gemini thumper, like I'm Gemini down. I took pride in being a Gemini. I made videos about being a Gemini. I have a tattoo on my spine of the 7 chakras. I'm not Buddhist. I don't know anything about Buddhism. I just like some of their principles. So I put it on my spine.
Imagine, if you will, that you put a shirt on once when you were in your 20s, and now you have to wear that for the rest of your life. And that is what it feels like to get heavily tattooed before you turn into a fully developed adult human. I wanted to talk about, there's like a lot of reasons to regret my tattoos, but today specifically I wanted to talk about not matching my aesthetic, right? So I think if you asked almost anybody that's over 30, if they have a better idea of who they are in their 30s than they did in their 20s, they're going to be like, oh my God, yes. I have all of these tattoos that don't necessarily reflect who I am at 36. They might have reflected a moment in time in my 20s, maybe a moment in time that I was like not doing so well mentally, and they are here forever.
I got tattoos when I was 16 to 17 years old and I regret it so much. I have a snake on my back. My prefrontal cortex wasn't developed. I was super alternative at the time and I convinced myself that I wanted to be covered in tattoos and this would be a great start. I got this tattoo front and center on my arm. It is a Fibonacci spiral and you can find it all the time in nature. And then it's also a clock to represent how time exists all at once. It's a man-made construct. I think it has a really cool meaning. I just wish it was smaller and didn't resemble the cochlea of an ear or a seashell.
So if you're an impulsive person like me, you might be able to relate to this. So when I was freshly 19, I had the bright idea to go get 4 tattoos on the same day. Mind you, I've never had any tattoos before. This is just a great idea that I conjured up in my pea brain. So yeah, one day I was 19 and I was like, let's go get 4 tattoos for fun. And And guess what? I regret all of them now. Now, I know that some people love tattoos, like that's their thing, and they don't have any regret for the rest of their life. But in my little 19-year-old brain, I was not thinking long term. And who would have thought that my taste had already changed so much between the ages of 19 and 21 years old? So I deeply regret them. I wish I didn't get them. Oh well, it's on my body now. I'm gonna do something about it someday. But anyways, this might be a hot take, but I am gonna tell my kids, do not do anything permanent until you are at least like 25 years old.
Someone commented on one of my tattoo removal videos that getting a tattoo is like picking one of your favorite band t-shirts, except for you can never take it off. And that is so true, because now my style is very like girly, cottagecore, flowers, fairy vibes, and I'm covered in skeletons. And I'm like not really into that goth aesthetic so much anymore, and all of my tattoos represent that version of my life. So really think about that before getting tattoos, because you should maybe get some that will match every style and version of your life, because you will change as you get older, especially after you turn 25 and your frontal lobe develops. You go through a major change.
Am I the only one that regrets getting tattoos? Don't get me wrong, like, tattoos are cool. Like, I have nothing against tattoos. I just don't like mine. When I think back to the time to where I got the tattoos, y'all, just young and doing anything because I can. The stars, the butterfly, it's just, ew. Like, when I look at it now as a 29-year-old, I'm like, ooh, child, the ghetto. I've even looked into, like, tattoo removal, but I feel like that would hurt worse than me just trying to, like, get a tattoo to cover these up and make them better, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you just watched a few people who all have the same look on their face. That, why did I do this look? And here's the thing nobody tells you before you sit in that chair. Getting a tattoo takes an hour. Regretting it can take the rest of your life. I've been going through a rabbit hole of tattoo regret stories for weeks now, reading them and watching them. And I noticed the regret almost never comes from the pain or the price or even how it looks right after. It comes later, months later, years later, when the person who got the tattoo isn't the same person anymore. And that's the part that gets me, because when you're in that chair, you're not thinking about 10 years from now. You're thinking about right now, how cool it's gonna look, how much it means to you in that moment. Nobody sits down for a tattoo thinking, I might hate this someday. If they thought that, they wouldn't do it. So the regret sneaks up on people. It's not a decision they knew was bad. It's a decision that only looks bad with time attached to it. I also noticed something else going through all these stories. It's almost never one single reason. Usually, it's 2 or 3 things stacked up on top of each other. Someone gets a tattoo during a rough time in their lives, on a cheap budget, from an artist they found last minute, in a spot they didn't think through. Any of those things alone might have been fine. All of them together is basically a regret waiting to happen. So today, I want to break down the real reasons people end up regretting their ink. Not to scare you of tattoos. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body. I just think if you're gonna make something permanent, you should know what actually trips people up, based on the people who've actually been there. And this is information, not a warning label. We're gonna go through this in a few buckets: what they got, where they put it, and honestly, the biggest one, who they were when they got it. Some of this is gonna hit different depending on your age. A 19-year-old getting a tattoo and a 45-year-old getting a tattoo are dealing with completely different versions of, will I still like this later? A 19-year-old is usually worried about right now. Does it look good? Will my friends think it's cool? A 45-year-old has already lived through a few versions of themselves, so they tend to think more about whether it still fits who they are. Neither one is wrong, they're just answering different questions. And there's also a difference between regretting the tattoo itself and regretting what it represents. Some people look at their tattoo and just don't like the artwork anymore. That's one kind of regret. But some people look at their tattoo and it reminds them of a relationship or a version of themselves or a low point they've moved past. That's a completely different kind of regret, and it usually hits a lot of people harder, because you can fix bad artwork. You can't really erase what a tattoo reminds you of. One more thing before we get into the clips. A lot of people assume regret means the person wishes they never got any tattoo at all, and that's usually not true. Most people with a regret tattoo still have other ink they love. It's rarely tattoos were a mistake. It's more like one specific decision at one specific moment didn't hold up. And that distinction matters, because it means this isn't really about tattoos being risky in general. It's about a handful of decision points that tend to trip people up over and over. So stick around, because after this next batch of clips, I'm gonna break down the actual patterns, the stuff that shows up again and again in these stories, and some of it might surprise you. And this isn't a list of don't get this tattoo. It's more like, here's what people wish they thought about first. So let's get into it.
My chest tattoo has cost me tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I spent part of my 20s into my 30s as a commercial actor, a model, and an influencer. I know we all hate the term influencer, but it is what it is. Content creator? Anyway, in addition to any times that I don't know about that I got passed over internally for jobs, there were plenty of times when myself or my agent were in negotiations with a brand, only to be told that once it was sent for approvals, it just wasn't the look they were going for. While there were definitely times that I got hired because I was more heavily tattooed, there were way more times that I lost out on jobs because I looked just a little bit too hardcore. The vibe that I always got is that sleeves are cool and hand tattoos are cool and maybe even like a little neck piece is cool, but when you have your whole chest tattooed, it's a little bit much. Unless they're casting for like a biker or some other cliche. Granted, I also had really short hair and a little bit harsher aesthetic overall, but yeah. I do have some kind of funny stories though about being hired because I had tattoos and somebody at the brand between the shoot and publication decided that they did not like that. In several cases, I was photoshopped to have no tattoos in the end and everything was just like very smooth. My favorite instance though, I was hired for a global commercial because I looked more edgy. Then they realized that tattoos are not really accepted globally. I'd already signed the contract and everything, so when I showed up to the shoot, they tried putting me in a turtleneck and covering what wasn't covered with makeup, and it just didn't really work out. And in the end, I was in this worldwide commercial for a well-known brand that I will not name, but I will tell you it has something to do with a fruit. And it was just a split second of my eyeballs.
I deeply regret all of my tattoos. A lot of the comments on the previous video told me to either cover them up or embrace them. And let me tell you why that is just simply not an option for me. I would say 95% of my tattoos have just terrible memories associated with them. I got the bulk of my tattoos when I was between the ages of 16 and 22. And during that time period, I was not well, to say the least. I was pretty much a functioning alcoholic, and with the drinking and drugs came a lot of really poor decisions. And so when I look at my hands and when I look at my forearm, when I look down at my chest, when I look at my hands, I don't see artwork. I see terrible choices. And honestly, it gives me anxiety. Looking at my tattoos just fills me with a deep sense of shame, and I don't want to look at them anymore.
You know how people tell you, put thought into the tattoos because they're on your body forever? Well, I didn't do that with a lot of my tattoos. I got a lot of them when I was 19 in the span of 1 year, and now I'm stuck with a bunch of tattoos that make me feel like a man when I try to wear a dress. Like this dragon that's on my hand that intertwines into another dragon that ends up on my shoulder, and then I have one on my neck, and then my whole back's done, and then I have this giant piece on my leg, and I just don't feel good in them. And I was like you, and I was like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm gonna look like a cool ass old lady. I love tattoos, don't get me wrong. I think they're awesome, and people who have them love it, okay? But for me personally, I am now regretting it. So I'm letting you know to put serious thought into it before you do it, because they are there forever, and when you do get them removed, they're still not completely gone.
I hate my tattoos, and let me tell you why. So I've never, ever seen anyone talk about this openly on the internet. I personally regret every single tattoo I've ever gotten. I started getting them at 18, and since I was maybe 10 years old, I was going through some identity crisis, wanting to be loved, wanting to be accepted, and for me that was my way to do that. And I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. You're not gonna find many heavily tattooed people admit that. Whenever somebody asks me about a tattoo, should I get a hand tattoo? No, please don't get it. Or at least wait a long time until you're 100% certain that you want it. And everyone is always shocked that I say that. And I wish
I had somebody when I was younger to tell me that. I have 2 boys, and they know I don't want them to get tattoos. However, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And who am I to say no? It's been a few years now, but I started getting a few small tattoos removed, and it's painful. If I had the opportunity and the money, I would completely remove every single tattoo on my body.
Somebody once asked me, what is something that I did in my teens or in my 20s that I regret now that I'm in my 30s? And I would say tattoo. Putting on tattoos on my body is honestly the most regretful thing that I've ever done. Because one day you're going to wake up in your 30s, you're going to have your children, you're going to be mature, you're going to know and understand who you are, what your purpose is, and you're going to build a spiritual connection with God, and then you're going to have the tattoos to look at every single day. And I would honestly say that tattoo is my biggest regret in life. Yes, I did body piercings, but when I took out the piercings, when I took out the piercing them, then everything healed up back and I look normal. But how do I get rid of this? You know, this is like the consequence, you know. As I tell people all the time, you see, sin, consequence is the fine print hidden in sin, because we do what we want to do outside of the will of God, and then when we come to maturity, then we have to live with the consequences. So my biggest regret is tattoo. I would encourage anybody who has never gotten a tattoo before, do not get it. And if you're contemplating getting a tattoo, do not get it. And if you already get a tattoo, do not get any more, because I promise you, one day y'all go wake up and y'all go regret so you did ever put on a tattoo on your skin.
I'm currently in my late 20s, struggling to get my tattoos removed. So if you're in your teens or early 20s and you're thinking about getting a tattoo, you might want to hear this. I'm genuinely surprised to see how many of you have reached out asking about my tattoo removal experience. And you guys have also told me that you really want to get your tattoos removed but are unsure about the price, how long it would take, and the pain. So I got my first tattoo when I was barely 20, and I got it behind my parents' back, and I got this big ugly thing on the side here. My bra covers it, so that's good. But since then, I continued getting more tattoos. In total, I have like 9 tattoos, but I just absolutely hate the placement of them. There's some tattoos that I just hate the actual tattoo, like this one, for example. It's a makeup brush. Why did I need to get a makeup brush on my arm? Like, I know I was a makeup artist, but did I really need to get this? This can't relate with a lot of my tattoos anymore, and I knew that I wanted to get rid of them the moment I started hiding them. I was wearing long sleeves to hide my tattoos, like this one, and then I knew at that point, I was like, okay, I gotta get rid of them. Now, it's a pretty big process to get them removed. A lot of people who reached out thought it'd be like a 1 session. If that was the case, then I'm pretty sure we'd all be getting tattoos and then just removing them right after. Getting 4 tattoos removed, and they're not that big, but they told me it'd take about 5 to 8 sessions. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that it's gonna take closer to 8 sessions. Especially this one, I'm sure it's gonna take more sessions because this is after 3 sessions and it's very much still there. Then we have this one that's pretty much faded after 3 sessions. So I'm thinking maybe another 2 to 3 sessions and it'll be completely gone. Well, let's talk about pain. Thank the Lord they allow you to put numbing cream on, because without it, I wouldn't be able to do it. This is the one that I use, and ignore that it looks like that. My dog bit through it, but it needs to have 5% lidocaine, and I'm telling you, this stuff, you won't feel anything. My last session, I kind of ran out of it, so I didn't apply a lot, and let me tell you, I did feel it. So it definitely does add up, and it's a process that you need to commit to. I say all this to say that if you're like 19 or 20 and you're thinking about getting a tattoo, you might not want it when you're 30. If it's something that you just thought about getting last night and you want to go get it today, probably don't get it, or at least get it somewhere on your body where you won't regret it. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Y'all, do not book that tattoo appointment. Y'all, can we talk about how tattoo regret is really a real thing? Let me show y'all my tattoo. Okay, so I have this one. I also have one on my neck that says Lucky. And I also have this one. Mind you, it's been less than a year since I had this whole arm. Less than a year since I had this neck. This one I did when I was 17. And I have a really tiny one on my foot. A really tiny one. Y'all, so please make sure you really want that tattoo because so much has changed within myself within the less than a year. You know, don't get me wrong. It was cute when I was, like, I guess more out there. Like, I wanted to show it off every 2 seconds. I was like this in all my videos. But it's kind of just like... Over the past couple of months, I feel like I've been maturing, like eating healthier, dressing different, carrying myself different, going to the gym every day. I guess you could say like living like a clean girl, soft girl lifestyle. I don't know. And it's like when I want to wear stuff that's sleeveless, but then I have this whole arm done, it just does not, like it's not the vibe for me anymore. And honestly, I just think it's like the excitement of getting a new tattoo and looking for what you want to add to your body. But it's like, I feel like I just lost that thought of like, it's going to be on me forever.
I regret all of my tattoos. Let's talk about it. I know that that's not the way that everybody with as many tattoos as myself feels. I have 9 tattoos, mostly on my arms and my hands, very visible areas. But tattoo regret is becoming increasingly popular and I feel like it needs to be talked about more. Yes, I know it boils down to better decision making and, you know, being smarter about what you put on your body, especially something that is permanent. But when I was, you know, getting the tattoos that I have currently, I was very young. I was like 22, 23. I was going through a lot. This was like 7 years ago. I was going through a lot. I had just went through a breakup. I was going through some family stuff. I just felt like the world was attacking me. And I was getting to a point where I was numb and I just wanted to feel something. So tattoos seemed like a plausible form of therapy. I was also like out to prove something to the world when I got them. I, like I said, recently went through a breakup. I was also starting to work in New York City, you know, in the makeup industry around a bunch of other very cool looking, artsy, edgy, successful makeup artists. And they all had like tattoos and piercings and fun hair colors. And I felt like I was this girl from like suburban New Jersey who didn't stand out, and I felt like I needed to prove something. Even though my artistry was great, I just felt like I needed to like fit in, conform, be rebellious, like prove something. And I know that that's a stereotype, but that's like how I felt at the time. I was very young. All of the tattoos I got were pretty impulsive, not well thought out. I didn't really research the artist. I literally just like went to somebody who was close that a friend had gone to. So none of them really had any like meaning or, you know, were thought out and planned. If you are going through something or if you're going through a phase, don't get tattoos. I remember that my mom saw it and she was like so pissed off, didn't want to talk to me. She's like, what the hell are you doing? Another thing is I'm also Jewish, and in Judaism, like, you aren't really supposed to get tattoos. A lot of Jewish people have tattoos, I know that, but like sometimes even now I feel judged by people in my community because back then being a part of the Jewish community was not really something that was like super important. I was kind of just like straying away from everything, trying to be rebellious, and now I feel like judged and watched by people in my community because I have a lot of visible tattoos. People are probably listening to this and saying like, well, you should just get them removed. Sure, I'll get them removed, but I have a lot of tattoos. I'm not going to show all of them right now. Like, maybe I'll do a tattoo tour one day, but they're all really big, black, blotchy. They've gotten like blown out. I've gone to like dermatologists and tattoo removal places, and you want to know how much they've quoted me per session to remove, you know, my tattoos, and it's going to take probably 12 to 20 sessions. They said it would cost per session around $1,000, $700. If I pay for like this entire package, it would come out to like $700 a session, which would cost me thousands of dollars up front. Laser tattoo removal is also extremely painful. It's a very strenuous process on top of being very expensive. It limits what you're able to do, and the issue is like I'm a very active person. I'm constantly working with my hands. Like, I'm a makeup artist, I cook a lot, you know, I do a lot of things in my life that are outdoors, and if you get laser tattoo removal, you have to like completely cover up. You can't be exposed to the sun at all. Like, it can completely ruin the entire process. So that's an issue as well.
I no longer resonate with the person I was or the style I had back when I got the tattoos. And it sucks because, like I said, I live in Florida. I kind of want to wear these like cute little sundresses and crop tops and, like, you know, sports bras, working out outside, and I feel so self-conscious with all of these like big black dark tattoos. And people like will come up to me and they're like, oh, your tattoos are so cool, like they look so badass. I don't want to look badass. I don't want to look cool. That's just not my style and who I'm trying to evolve into. I also work in the bridal industry, and you know, every weekend I get to see all these beautiful brides and their beautiful like sleeveless gowns, their beautiful smooth clean arms, and I just like feel this like inner ache because I know that when I get married I'm not going to look like that. And this is not to say that brides with tattoos are not beautiful, because they are. Like, it looks so beautiful and so amazing and so special. That's just not what I envisioned for myself on my wedding day.
Let me tell you why I regret my tattoos and why you likely will regret yours as well. Let me start with a horror story, my biggest regret of a tattoo here, which has a vine of ivy, it's got some flowers, a bird, cool. Let me tell you about it. So I came in for my consultation, I told the artist, I showed the space that she wants to fill up, she traced it, and then I told her my idea. My idea was a vine of ivy with an ecosystem living off of it. I said, hey, the only things I care about being on this tattoo and need to have on it is the vine of ivy, grapes on this vine somewhere, as well as coffee flowers, right? I just like coffee a lot. I like how they look, and I want to have coffee flowers on there. So she said, oh, awesome. Everything else, she had creative freedom. If she wants to add a bird, if she wants to add Superman on there, she wants to put a bee, whatever it is that she thinks would be cool to tattoo on there, I'm down to roll with it. Let's go. She was super stoked about the tattoo, told me it would be a portfolio piece. Cool. I show up a month later for the tattoo, and I see it, and there is no ivy in the tattoo at all. It's a completely different vine. There's no ivy at all there. There's no coffee flowers either. It's like a Hawaiian lei flower. I don't know what that flower is called, but like the flower that's on those necklaces in Hawaii. And I mentioned this. I said, hey, I love it. It looks cool. Could we just put, like, I really wanted it to be a vine of ivy. Like, that's the idea of the tattoo. And also, if we could switch the flowers to at least look a little bit more like a coffee flower. It doesn't have to be an exact replica, but just so that it can kind of have more of the shape of a coffee flower. And I showed her pictures and references and things of that nature. And she kind of gave me a bit of attitude with it, but she was like, yeah, we'll change that, sure. And she went away and like went and sat with her other tattoo artists that are in the studio, and I could overhear them talking, but I don't think they knew I could hear them because I was on the other side of a wall. And I heard her talking shit about me, talking shit about the tattoo and how it's annoying that I wanted to change it and blah, blah, blah. When I was like super clear, these are the things that I want on the tattoo, and they just weren't there. I didn't like this bird part or the wood part. I was just in my people pleaser phase, and I didn't say shit because I already was saying shit about, hey, this doesn't have what I want on it. Can you please change this? And I said it very nicely. Now, obviously, I'm insecure. I'm in a tattoo studio. I only had like 3 tattoos at the time, so I felt weird about it. She comes back. She starts tattooing me. Now, she's getting through the beginning of it. It's looking pretty good. It's pretty dark, like darker than I thought and darker than the other tattoos I had seen of her style, but I was like, hey, rolling with it, cool. And then right around here, she's like, how you doing? I was like, yeah, good. Like pain, or like how do I think about the tattoo? Like, what do I think of it? And she's like, well, both, I guess. I was like, yeah, pain's all good. The only thing I would say is maybe on the grapes, we go a bit lighter on the shading. Like, I want the grapes to kind of stand out a bit. I feel like if the rest of it is dark and the grapes are a little bit lighter, maybe that would stand out. You tell me. She said, wait, what grapes? And I said, the ones you're tattooing right now. Like, she'd already tattooed one of them. She was like, these are blackberries. Why would they be grapes? And I was like, oh, well, it's just because that was like, those were like the 3 things I asked of you, right? Was the vine of ivy, grapes, and coffee flowers. So I just figured that that's what those were. I didn't ask any questions, but they were blackberries. We rolled with it. I said, whatever, it can be blackberries. The whole idea was fully shot at this point, right? Like, I wanted something and she didn't do any of it. Massive red flag, but I'm already in the tattoo at this point. I can't do anything about it. Now, my advice for you, whether it's your first tattoo, whether you have a few tattoos, you probably already know this, the biggest thing that you're going to regret is likely not even the art itself. It's the experience you had with the tattoo artist. I don't necessarily hate this tattoo. I think she did a really good job. Up until about here, I don't love it. And it's because I didn't speak up because I was too scared and I was insecure in this moment. Find a tattoo artist that you know you're going to feel comfortable telling them what you want to do. Drop the people pleasing and know that just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Alright, let's actually break this down. The name thing. And this is the one everybody expects. So let's just get it out of the way. Names are the most talked about tattoo regret there is. A partner's name, an ex's name, sometimes even a friend's name from a friendship that didn't last. It's not really about the name itself. It's about tying something permanent to something that was never guaranteed to be permanent. Relationships change, people change, the tattoo doesn't. And some people cover it up, some people just leave it and explain it away for the rest of their life. Either way, it becomes this whole thing they didn't expect when they were 22 and in love. Number 2, the it was cool at the time problem. And this one's less talked about but comes up constantly. Tattoos that were trendy, certain fonts, certain symbols, certain styles that just don't hold up 10 years later. Not because the tattoo got worse, because taste moved on. What felt fresh and meaningful in one decade can feel dated or even embarrassing in the next. And this is the tricky part. You can't really predict what's gonna age well. Nobody getting a tattoo in 2010 thought this specific style is gonna look dated by 2020. That's just how trends work. So a lot of the regret here isn't about a bad decision, it's just about time passing. Number 3, a bad artist or a bad execution. And this one's more practical. A lot of regret isn't even about the design, it's about how it was done. Blown out lines and even shading, colors that faded weird, proportions that were off from day one, people who went cheap or went to someone's cousin or didn't really check out the artist's portfolio first. And this is a one regret that's almost entirely avoidable just by doing some research beforehand. But it happens a lot because people get excited or they're on a budget or they just don't know what to look for in a good versus bad tattoo until they already have the bad one. Another one is placement problems, where you put it matters just as much as what it is. Visible spots, i.e. hands, neck, face, can affect how people are treated in job interviews or at work, even now. And that's just a reality some people run into after the fact. There's also the physical side. Skin changes, weight goes up, goes down. People have kids, skin ages. A tattoo that looked crisp on tight 22-year-old skin can stretch or blur years later, especially in spots that move a lot or stretch a lot. And then there's the practical side. Hiding it for a wedding, a funeral, a formal job thing. Some people don't think about that until they're standing in front of a mirror, trying to cover something up for an occasion. Also, there's the identity problem, and this is the one I think matters most, and it's the hardest one to plan for. A lot of tattoos are tied to who someone was at a specific point, a belief, a phase, a group of friends, a subculture, even a low point in their life. And people change. That's normal. Most people at 30 don't think the exact same way they did at 19, and the tattoo doesn't really expire with the person. So some people end up with something on their body that represents a version of themselves they've grown away from. And that regret isn't really about the tattoo looking bad, it's about it being a permanent flag for a temporary phase. So what do people actually wish they'd done differently? If you look across all these stories, it's not really don't get tattoos. Most people with regretted tattoos still have other tattoos they love. The pattern is more about the decision-making moment, getting something during a really emotional time, not doing research on the artist, not thinking about where skin actually changes over the years, not asking, will I still care about this in 10 years, versus, do I like this right now? And none of this is me telling you what to do. Everyone's relationship with their own body and their own choices is different, and plenty of people get tattoos they never regret for a second. I just think knowing the actual patterns, the stuff that shows up again and again in these stories, is useful information before you make something permanent.
I'm not gonna lie, I regret this right here because I don't know, afterwards I just don't like this little person that I put right here.
As somebody with some cool tattoos, let me give y'all some advice. Here are some of my credentials. This might not be up everybody's alley, but this is my whole kneecap. This is also a pretty sick one that I got. So, okay, tip number 1, never rush to get a tattoo. I don't feel like you need to know exactly what you want, but you need to know exactly who you want it from. Never get a tattoo on a whim unless it's someone that you feel like does really good work. Number 2, please stop looking up tattoo inspiration and then getting the same tattoo as the inspo. That's why we have so many clock rose lion tattoos with Bible verses on them. My last piece of advice is always give the artist some creative freedom to work with. If they're good, if they know what they're doing, their vision in their mind is always going to be better than what you can vision. There's a reason that you're there with that specific person, so trust them. Actually, I lied. I got one more thing to say. Don't be afraid to spend bag on a tattoo. That shit does not come off, bro. You will not be thinking about that little $1,000 that you spent, but you will be looking at that bullshit ass tattoo that you got.
And if you've got a tattoo you regret or one you love, Drop it in the comments. I'm curious which category most people fall into. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Creators' handles are in the description box below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.